I inherited my uncle's cabin, but the locals told me never to stay after sunset. I inherited my uncle's cabin in a tiny remote town after he passed. He didn't have many friends and he never talked much about the locals. I thought it would be peaceful, a quiet escape from city life. But when I mentioned I planned to stay there, the locals' reactions were strange, uneasy, almost afraid. The first person I told was the owner of the general store. He gave me a long, awkward look and said, "You might want to avoid the cabin after sunset." I laughed it off. Small town superstition, right? But then I asked my uncle's neighbors, one by one. Every single one repeated the same warning. Don't stay there after dark. One woman leaned close, whispered, "The woods, they don't like strangers." I pressed for details. Nothing. Just silence, uneasy glances, and shaking heads. When I finally arrived at the cabin, it looked normal. Rustic, a little rundown, but cozy. The air smelled like pine, dirt, and something old, like the scent of decades sitting untouched. I unpacked, made a fire, and tried to ignore the warnings. At first, everything seemed fine. Birds chirped, wind rustled the trees, peaceful. But as the sun dipped below the horizon, the forest seemed to grow louder. Shadows thickened, and the trees swayed unnaturally, like they were leaning closer, watching. Then I heard it. Footsteps. Not outside, but inside. Slow, deliberate, creaking across the wooden floorboards upstairs. I froze. No one else was supposed to be there. I told myself it was an animal, maybe a raccoon, but the pacing didn't stop. It circled the room above me. The fire flickered, shadows dancing across the walls, and the temperature dropped. My breath came out in misty clouds, even though the cabin wasn't that cold. Then came the whispering, faint, low, almost imperceptible. "Leave before dark." My stomach sank. The voice seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere, like the walls themselves were speaking. I grabbed a flashlight and shined it around the room. Nothing. The footsteps stopped. Silence. I laughed nervously, trying to convince myself I was imagining it. But the feeling of being watched didn't go away. The shadows shifted unnaturally. One corner of the room darkened more than it should, like a solid mass breathing. My phone lost signal, then battery inexplicably drained from full to zero. I tried the door. Stuck, as if held by invisible hands. I slammed my shoulder against it, again and again. Finally, it gave way, and I ran into the forest, not daring to look back. The day I went into town to tell someone what happened, the locals just shook their heads. "We warned you," they said. A few avoided eye contact entirely. I learned that my uncle, he didn't just own the cabin. He respected the warning. He never stayed after dark either. No one who tried ever came back the same, if at all. I never went back. Some places aren't meant for the living. Some warnings are more than superstition. That cabin waits, and if you ever hear someone tell you not to stay after sunset, believe them.